Hey besties, welcome back. Today we're digging into something far more serious than online drama. Blake Lively signed a sworn declaration in court under penalty of perjury, and some of the statements she made raise real credibility concerns. I'm not saying she will be charged with perjury, civil cases rarely go that route, but when sworn testimony directly conflicts with documented evidence, it matters. A lot. If you've been here for a while, you know I've covered this case from the very beginning. When Blake first filed her administrative complaint, I believed her. When early footage surfaced, I gave her the benefit of the doubt. I wanted to. But as the filings stacked up, timelines emerged, and receipts were introduced, the picture changed. I followed every motion, every amended complaint, every deposition, and every hearing. What shifted my perspective wasn't bias, it was evidence. What ultimately stood out to me was not just inconsistencies in Blake's claims, but the ripple effect her allegations had on other women involved in this case. Women whose experiences and professional reputations were negatively impacted by statements that didn't align with the facts. That's where this becomes bigger than one person. It becomes about responsibility. At the same time, we've seen major media outlets attempt to tie Justin Baldoni and his publicist to broad, unrelated smear campaigns. The implication being pushed is that criticism of Blake and even criticism of Taylor Swift is part of some coordinated effort. That leap is not supported by evidence. Yes, there are very real, very powerful abusers in entertainment. The Epstein files alone confirm that. But acknowledging systemic abuse does not mean every accusation automatically fits that category. Here's the issue. Fighting for women's safety, equality, and accountability has never meant tearing down due process or weaponizing serious movements for personal leverage. The goal has never been to vilify men as a group. It has been to hold actual abusers accountable. When lines blur, it doesn't just harm individuals, it damages the credibility of movements like Me Too that have done real, necessary good. This brings us to Blake's legal team and the optics surrounding it. Her attorneys previously represented Harvey Weinstein and employed tactics that were widely criticized for discrediting victims. Those same lawyers have also represented Epstein survivors, many of whom later accused them of profiting from trauma and silencing voices. That history matters, especially when we're asked to accept current claims at face value. Now let's talk about the declaration itself. In one section, Blake describes a meeting on April 25, 2023, claiming that Justin Baldoni made inappropriate inquiries about her weight. She states that her husband, Ryan Reynolds, briefly joined the conversation, did not raise his voice, and quickly stepped away. She also claims Hugh Jackman merely stopped by to pick Ryan up for lunch and had no involvement. But contemporaneous text messages from that same day tell a very different story. In those messages, Blake describes a multi-hour meeting, boasts about Baldoni breaking down emotionally, and celebrates the confrontation afterward. The tone is not one of fear or discomfort, it's triumphant. That directly contradicts the calm, minimal interaction version presented in her sworn declaration. Justin Baldoni's account also differs significantly. He describes being aggressively confronted by both Blake and Ryan, being accused of misconduct, and being pressured into removing a scene that had already been rehearsed. That scene was later omitted from the film not because it never existed, but because it was demanded to be cut. These are verifiable production facts. The contradictions don't stop there. Blake also addresses a January 4 meeting in her declaration, asserting that Ryan Reynolds never raised his voice and that no one present was surprised by the nature of the discussion. Yet testimony from Sony's representative directly contradicts this, stating that Ryan did raise his voice and that the meeting was one of the harshest executives had ever experienced. Multiple witnesses described Baldoni as visibly shaken afterward. We then move to the issue of the film's trailer and Taylor Swift's music. Blake claims she had no prior knowledge of the trailer or plans to use Taylor's song until Sony sent it to her. But her own text messages show she had already reviewed earlier cuts, discussed securing the song, and actively sought feedback from powerful friends, including Taylor Swift and Sean Levi. This wasn't a surprise. It was a strategy. The texts also show Blake leveraging Taylor's approval as negotiating power, despite already having that approval. That undercuts her claim that she was not using personal relationships to influence the production. Internally, studio executives were openly discussing their inability to manage her demands, expressing concern about creative control, timelines, and escalating conflict. Taken together, this paints a troubling picture. Blake's declaration repeatedly minimizes or omits facts that would implicate powerful allies, her husband, close friends, and industry peers, while placing blame elsewhere. That's not advocacy. That's insulation. And this is where the broader concern lies. When sworn statements distort facts to protect influential people, it doesn't just hurt one case. It undermines trust. It weakens movements meant to protect women. And it reinforces the very power structures those movements were created to challenge. So I'll leave you with this. Are you surprised by the inconsistencies now laid bare in the record? Do you think accountability will ever follow when sworn statements conflict so clearly with evidence? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next update. Thanks for watching, see you next time.